As Donald Trump and the Republicans were trying to sell their tax plan last year, they assured us, as the GOP always does when it comes for tax cuts, when that time comes, that it would be a massive adrenaline shot to the economy.
I have a feeling we're gonna need massive antidepressant shots after seeing this.
So let's take a look at the evidence and see if they were right.
So, wait. You're talking about this 12 days after Trump's first tax day, and you think you already have economic statistics for it? This is gonna be typical Young Turks fare, people.
Gross domestic product, GDP, a broad measure of goods and services produced in the US, rose at an annual rate of 2.3% from January through March. That's good. The figure was lower than the fourth quarter of last year, though, when GDP grew at a rate of 2.9%, and the third quarter, which saw an increase of 3.2%.
So you've never heard of seasonal adjusting. According to the Federal Reserve Bank of St. Louis, seasonally adjusted real GDP has risen pretty steadily over the last 4 quarters. Whatever difference you might find is just statistical noise. So even if any sane person would think that the tax cuts could have possibly taken effect by now, and they wouldn't, you'd still fail miserably.
Now we do have to bear in mind that all quarters aren't equal, and the first quarter isn't necessarily as productive as later quarters. That is certainly true.
And the first quarter is still based on the previous tax year.
However, if this is the first quarter where we had the effect of the tax cuts,
it isn't.
So he was off by 0.7%.
Wow, 0.7%? That's like slightly more than nothing. Hey, had you guys ever been off by only 0.7%? Because I gotta say, your track record, not great.
It was lower by about 2 times as much as he said it would go up.
But it's not lower. It went up even by your non-adjusted data.
And it only took between $1.5 and $2 trillion being taken from the US government, US taxpayers, and given to corporations and the wealthiest Americans.
So wait, tax cuts means money being taken from taxpayers? What? And just how quickly do you think economic indicators respond to conditions anyway? Do you really expect both the cause and the effects to happen in the same quarter? Oh, but you were blaming Obama's terrible economy on Bush for years. I guess it's only people with an R next to their name that have impossibly immediate effects on the economy.
People have to know a certain amount and have to have a sophisticated enough understanding of the economy at large.
Well, that leaves you out.
This is where they have to prove it down the line.
Already have. It's not like this is the first time anyone attempted it. Oh, but you don't want to look at those other times, do you? You don't want to look at 1981, for example, where tax cuts helped reverse a decade-long economic crisis. And you really don't want to look at times when they tried increasing taxes on the rich, like in 1991 when Congress passed a 10% tax on luxury goods, which resulted in a 77% drop in the sale of these goods and unemployment for the workers who worked to build them. And Congress didn't even get the revenues from it they were expecting. I mean, you can't get revenues from a product nobody's buying. Reducing taxes increases demand in the economy, especially for goods and services purchased with disposable income. And that creates jobs and makes life better for everyone, especially the working classes.
Because you can point out where all the benefits are going, and it doesn't go to the average person in America.
Yes, it does. Stop lying. Almost everyone is seeing a reduction in taxes paid. The only ones who aren't are the ones not paying taxes to begin with.
With the money, there has been a rise in wages, and that rise had been in effect. There had been a prevailing rise in wages for 4 or 5 years.
Because we were coming out of a recession. You always get that when you come out of a recession. It's called a regression to the mean. Amazing how these expert economic scholars didn't point that out.
The problem is, with all the money that had essentially been injected back into the economy, that money hasn't gone into things like wage increases, hiring, the way it should have.
Because it didn't happen in a quarter before the tax cuts had any chance to take effect. Right.
It has gone to like stock buybacks, things that go more into the financial sectors.
So here we see more incredible economic ignorance. What they're talking about is the fact that people are paying lower taxes on dividends. They pretend that rich people are the only ones that get dividends, and that people don't have stocks in their retirement accounts and things like that. Dividend tax cuts have been shown to be pretty consistent at improving the long-run economy. You get better economic growth, more growth in business, more formation of new businesses, especially small businesses, fewer businesses moving overseas, and lots more jobs created as a result of it all. You even get better returns in people's retirement accounts.
The money that is in the economy over the last forever many years has been more toward capital than it has been toward wages.
How are you going to get higher wages without increasing capital?
Trump's agenda when it comes to business interests is he's kind of, gone to the middle America people and said, like, this is for small businesses and workers. It is not.
Unless you actually look at the data, then you see that it absolutely is. Where do you think jobs and wages come from to begin with?
Oh, well, why don't we give an example of that, actually?
Please do.
But I want to talk about something that was pitched as being for small businesses. They love talking about small businesses. I don't know that they've ever met a small business owner.
I am a small business owner.
Generally, it affects small businesses. It can also affect wealthy people who set up their income and their corporation in a particular way.
Okay, so everyone benefits from it. So what's the problem?
But they said that changing this to benefit those who do pass through income would help small business owners.
And you yourself just said that it did, so great.
And I don't recall them saying we need to reform pass-through income so that small business owners can get 7% of what the wealthiest corporations and individuals are making.
How is that statistic at all relevant? 7% compared to what? How does that compare to their proportion of income, for example?
When the median household income is $59,000.
Non sequitur.
It's pathetic. It's 7%. So best case scenario, they were 93% lying to you.
Do you even know how statistics work?
I get angry at the fact that all this information is out there and people don't actually access it.
Know the feeling.
They're usually content to just go to sources that tell them that they're right already and tell them what they want to hear.
Well, you'd know all about that, wouldn't you?
But I think that the American people are catching on because the current tax bill has a popularity rating of something like 26%, which is very low. I mean, that's lower than that's smaller than Trump's base.
Argumentum ad populum. I thought you were going to show an example of how these tax cuts hurt small businesses. You never did seem to get around to that.
And there is more within his agenda that is explicitly against small business interests. We on Nerd Alert, we reported on Ajit Pai's moves with the net neutrality initiatives.
I've already destroyed this net neutrality crap in several videos. Net neutrality itself is what gives the favors to big corporations. I'll point out again how regulation under that exact same title gave AT&T one of the biggest monopolies in history for decades. But these schmoes would probably blame capitalism for that.
Those net neutrality initiatives, what they say, are explicitly for big businesses and against small business.
No, they aren't.
Essentially, he's facilitating it so that small businesses who need to do things like buy an internet access package so that their employees can go online and do, the books, the distribution, any kind of ordering.
You don't need 25 megabits to do that.
And they make it more expensive for a mom and pop shop to just set up their T1 or whatever the...
T1? What is this, 1995? Admit it, you've never run a small internet-based business in your life! But no, it's state and local governments that make ISPs more expensive with their monopolistic agreements. But again, we don't hear one word from you about that! Once again, you show yourselves to be complete and total hypocrites.
Even breaking it down further, it sets it up to make it harder for these small businesses to actually create jobs that people actually need and that are attainable.
But you just admitted that these small businesses get more money from these tax cuts. 7% of whatever arbitrary number that was, but they still get it. So how does that not enable them to expand?
And just logistically, there have been reports about how complicated and difficult it is for you to go through the process of setting this up, knowing what your tax cuts are, how to best take advantage of it. The only people who know the ins and outs are still the ones who are within the financial sectors and industries, and you still need a pricey lawyer to really figure out how best to take advantage of it.
And yet somehow you think us libertarians are awful people for wanting to get rid of the income tax entirely so we wouldn't have to worry about it to begin with. It's your holy government that set up this ridiculous tax code long before Trump got there. But now, all of a sudden, you're complaining about it. Give me a break.
This is not the people who are still trying to make ends meet with their small business being able to find some way to take advantage of this huge handout that obviously no one's able to take advantage of.
Gotta love how keeping more of the money you earned is a handout. Hey, if you enjoyed this video, why not hit like and subscribe? And to make sure I can produce more, support this channel on Patreon and Maker Support. And check out all the other great content here, like this video selected especially for you.